Everyone, welcome to the RVDJ. My name is Sonia, obviously. Everybody knows who I am. And today we have Robert Morales, aka Traveling Robert. And we're not going to talk about the Traveling Robert side of things today. We're going to talk about Robert Morales, the musician. Hey, Robert, thanks for coming in. How are you?
Thank you, Sonia. Thank you so much for having me on your show here.
We're doing it the other way around, right?
Great.
All right, so got some questions here for you about your beginnings in music and everything like that. And you said in your "It's My Life," all about your life video that you did, how you got started with playing the piano when you were 7 years old. Was that actual piano lessons? Were you tinkering around? And how did that come about?
Well, my mom says that I started singing before I started talking, that kind of thing. So there was a piano in the house, and I was always kind of trying to sneak in and play the piano. And of course, I'm a 5-year-old. Nobody is going to let me play with the piano. But eventually, when I became of school age, I was she tried to get me into the conservatory, for official a music school, a music school that there was in Havana. And but I didn't get in. I failed the history test, the political history test, or something like that. So she got me a private professor. She came to the house like once or twice a week, and that's for about 2 years. I studied piano like that.
And was it were you classically trained, or was it just regular piano lesson?
No, it was classical. Yeah, we did the basic, Bach and Mozart and that kind of thing, but the basic versions as you learn the piano. But it was classical, yeah, for the most part, 90% of it, yeah.
And how long did you take those lessons for?
It was about 2 years. I've always been a lazy musician, so this is what I did. I've always been lazy to read music, so I would just memorize the music, and I would just play it and pretend I was reading. But eventually, I decided to stop taking lessons. I forget why. It was just one of those things. I moved on to the guitar actually a couple of years later.
And you like the guitar better, obviously. Did you learn that by ear? Did you take lessons for that?
The guitar has social aspects that you can take it everywhere. So as I grew up, I became a early teenager. It was a more social thing, show up with my guitar, play a couple of tunes, So it was more portable in that sense. Back then, we didn't have electronic keyboards or anything like that we do today.
And you can incorporate what you learned from the piano into the keyboard, obviously, and make that do things that the piano can't do.
Yeah, I mean, the notes are the same, but of course, every instrument, it has a different way of playing. And I did take guitar lessons too for about a year and a half too. First I had a professor who was very classically trained, and he wanted to teach me all this stuff. And then I got a second professor who was more no, let's teach him the popular songs, which is what he wants to learn and what.
And can you play the organ that actually has the foot pedals?
Oh no! I mean, I could. It would be easy to learn it, I suppose, relatively easy because I already know the notes and it's the same layout. But it would be much easier than playing learning play a trumpet or a saxophone or something like that, an instrument where everything is different. So it would be a matter of coordinating the feet. So yeah, I could play in theory.
Yeah, because the organ has way more pedals than a regular piano would.
Several, keyboards, and then you have the bass is usually in the pedals.
So those are the only two instruments that you play, or the piano and the guitar? Have you messed with anything else?
I mess with the congas and stuff like that, just for fun. But
I play the drums, but I can't read music, so I play by ear according to the music and everything else like that. I'll just kind of come up with something in my head and throw it on the drums real quick. I was in the band in middle school, and I did take there, but you're reading off a paper, and my brain just couldn't remember, and I was just kind of winging it. I just do it by ear. I find, at least for me, it's a lot easier to do
No, yeah,
that.
for me too, it was always easier to do it by ear, and yeah, I could read. I mean, if I really have to, but it would take me a whole day to figure out a song instead of sight reading it like some people do. I don't know how people can like just to see the paper and play it. That to me is
Yeah,
it's a skill that I never mastered.
yeah. Reading music is just, I don't know. It's too complex for me. But so as time went on, and you came over here from Cuba and everything like that, how did you get into playing with the bands and everything like that?
Well, one of the classes that I took in high school, I came here in 10th, 11th grade. I did 11th grade in three different countries, by the way. But I started there was a piano class. So this friend of mine next door, my student next to me, he started playing like some salsa riffs in the piano. I was never into salsa when I was in Cuba. I was more into like rock and pop and that kind of things. Salsa was the music that you had to play, so that's the one that I didn't want to play because you are 16 years old. You want to do the opposite of what they tell you to do. That's what you do. So and I lost went on a tangent and I lost my train of thought. Oh, this guy, he started playing these salsa riffs, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, and I learned, and he started teaching me salsa riffs, and then he was playing at a band. So eventually he got me to play at the band that he was playing with, and this must have been 1990, and all throughout the early 90s, I'd say until 95, 96, we did like a bunch of nightclubs here in Miami. That's what we did on the weekends. And I had my regular, I was in sales at the time of all things. I had my regular job during the day. The music was always kind of like a side thing for me. But yeah,
And
did it
when
for
did
many
you
years.
actually get into the singing aspect of things? Was it with those bands, or were you singing
I
before that? When did you discover your voice?
I did background vocals for these bands, a couple of bands that I played with, but they would never let me sing, and I wasn't all that good even back then. You develop your voice with time. I could sing, but it wasn't like now. It was about around the year 2000 that like big bands like that were no longer feasible. The musical tastes changed, and nightclubs were, so we had to reduce the band, and we and this lady Arlene and another friend of ours, we did the trio tropical it was called, and and I started singing. Arlene sang, and I sang, played the piano. There was this guy who also, no, he didn't sing, he just played the percussion, and
Oh,
it was just the keyboard, and half of the music of course was sequenced and pre-recorded, because with only three people, we didn't have a bass player or anything like that. And that's how I started singing. We started singing in Key Largo at this place. It was a place that it's no longer there. So every weekend we would drive about an hour to Key Largo and play there.
so were you in the band that you played in the Vista Alegre nightclub? With the band, or were you considered the lead singer of that band?
I was, yeah. I and Arlene, we were both lead singers at one point, but I was the lead singer. I was the sound man. I was the keyboard player. I was I carried the speakers and everything too. It was everything. I was the everything man in that band.
Yeah, because I noticed that there were a lot of people in that band. You had all your background singers and your trumpet player and all that. And
our peak in this band must have been between 2006 and like 2012, 2013, around there. We played and we did exclusively private parties, which they paid better, and yeah, that's what we did. We did one or two nightclubs, and that never worked out that well.
so did that band did they break up, or are they still playing without you, or?
No, it's not broken up. We do reunions. Let's call them reunions from time to time. It's not entirely broken up, but it is. I mean, kind of a couple of years ago, it dried up. I mean, people, I guess, stopped wanting that style of music, and they're going more with DJs and more modern style. The thing with that band, and it was a great concept, a genius concept by my friend who lives in Waynesville, Roberto Gomez. He lives in Waynesville now, so it's kind of hard to get together. Back then, it was the Vista Alegre, the Buena Vista Social Club came out in the late 90s. It was a record of traditional Cuban music. And he said, let's do the Buena Vista Social Club, but in Miami. So our repertoire, 18% was traditional Cuban music. And a lot of people liked that at the time. And they wanted to have, we would dress in white tuxedos, kind of do like that 1950s kind of thing.
Right.
And for a while, it was very successful. We had parties almost every single weekend and well-paid parties. But eventually, things change.
I know for a fact that bands get way more money than DJs do.
Sometimes, sometimes it is a matter of supply and demand. And a DJ, for a party like that, sometimes it's so much more versatile that the DJ sometimes gets almost the same money as the band. The band as a whole gets more, but sometimes each musician gets $100, and if you're lucky,
yeah, you got to split that money up between all the band members.
Exactly. Yeah, it's.
So if they asked you, hey, if they called you up one day and say, hey, Robert, we want to get together and do, a gig at this place, somebody asked as a favor, would you go and do it with them?
Yeah, I do it. I do it from time to time. Now I'm doing the Minitini lounges, so I don't. But I don't crave it as much anymore as I used to. But sometimes, this guy he plays at the casino here, right? Like it's a casino, like it's like 5 blocks away from my house, and he doesn't pay all that much, but it's fun. It's a fun gig at the casino. So okay, I'll drive 5 miles, carry my piano, and I don't have to carry anything else.
Right.
So it's a fun gig. I've done it once in a while, But it's not something that I want to do every single weekend.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. It drains you. It drains me. If I do that on a Saturday or Sunday all day, I'm gonna be like, So,
oh yeah, you're sweating, you're singing, you're moving around.
That casino, that's a 4-hour gig. It's not like
it's 4 hours. Okay,
that's a 4-hour gig. We get a couple of breaks, but it's just 4 hours. It's heavy salsa. It's not like we're gonna play something soft just to take a break. No, it's all night.
It's all fast paced and
all fast paced. Yeah, we're the party. It's the party band.
You do get a workout, Yeah. And I mean, I do at least at the campgrounds. They only allot for 3 hours unless there's a special event or something going on where they ask me to play longer. But pushing a button and clicking a mouse here and there is the hardest part. Is putting the stuff together and carrying everything. Yeah. Everything else is easy unless I'm out there mingling with the people and dancing and heading the line dance or something like that.
No, when I did the audio, that was the thing. When I did the audio, I usually would tell people, I'm doing this for fun. I'm charging you for carrying all these speakers and all this stuff to your house and then taking it back. That's why I'm charging you whatever I'm charging you, and the rest is it's usually fine.
Yeah, or fuel, or at least up here would be the tolls and stuff like that. Yeah. So, how did you get started writing your own music? How did that come about?
Well, I always, probably since I was a teenager, I wrote a couple of songs here and there. They weren't all that good, I don't think. But I always wanted to write my own stuff, and I didn't really start writing a lot until I started doing the YouTube channel. I had some melodies in the back burner, and even in the mid-90s, I recorded like a 4-track, like a single. It was just 4 tracks. I recorded. I paid a fortune to the recording studio. The fortune to me at the time, recording studio, just to record those 4 tracks. I didn't have my own yet. And
what did you go to after high school? Did you go to college to learn about TV and radio production?
I went to college for TV. I went. I have like probably 12 credits left. I never quite graduated. But I practically did. But yeah, I studied TV production. Of course, this is what happened. You study TV production, and then timing is everything. It was the time of the transition from from tape to digital. Cameras got a lot more. So a lot of the technical stuff that I learned it became obsolete within a couple of years.
Oh, okay.
But the main techniques of how to do things, of course, is universal. You just the equipment changed, but
Right.
I did go to college for that, and I did study a little music too in college. I took a couple of music classes on the side, like those electives that you do, and yeah.
So the tunes, that you came up with for your songs, was it something that just popped up in your head and say, "Hey, this is great," or was it something that you actually sat down and thought about?
What I did the most during the early 2000s when I started my own recording studio was doing arrangements. I would arrange other people's songs.
Oh,
And
okay.
I became really good at they would like hum it for me, like da 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 da, and then I would, that he means da 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 da, and I would put it into notes and do the arrangement, and that's what I still did until not very long ago. I still, people would hire me to do that kind of thing.
Oh, nice.
I didn't get much time to write my own stuff until I wrote "Riding in My RV" back in 2014. That's when I started doing more of these instrumentals, and yeah, it's kind of like a new thing for me. I have a bunch of songs that I wrote in Spanish most of the time, but it's in a folder somewhere there. I've never really done anything with them.
So, I mean, and you said also that depending when you're traveling, the areas of the country that you're in, do the scenery or anything like that inspire, and obviously any kind of tunes or melodies in your head as you're driving?
I'll be driving, and I have my phone with me all the time, of course, and I have a recording app here on the phone. So if something comes to mind, I will go into my voice recorder and record it, and then months later, I don't even know where it is. I was going to play you something, but now I can't find it. I don't know if it's any good, but okay, for Grand Hotel, como para joder. And I just record that, and then it makes sense later to put it into a melody.
So that's how you came up with "Free in Your RV." You just kind of
No, Free in My RV was in the bathroom. I was taking a shower right after that at 2014, the first road trip to the Four Corners, and I'm like in the bathroom, in the shower, I'm riding in my army, and I'm like, holy crap, this is pretty good. I have to record it. So I got out of the bathroom, got in the phone, and recorded it. Just that phrase, that was it.
That's pretty cool. Just pops into your head. You go, wait a minute, where's my phone? Let me get this. I gotta put it on before I lose.
And 2 days ago, as I was editing the next video, which is in Montana, this is my first time like really in Montana, I just came up with a new verse for the Driving to the West
nice.
Tune.
So
I recorded it on the spot because I have the original instrumental, so I just went over and recorded it. So that's gonna come out on the Montana video like in 2 weeks. Next week, actually.
Put all your new stuff in an album eventually.
Yeah, I wanna have enough new material to do like a new album, but yeah, eventually. I don't know if I want to do like a replace the album that I currently have with a larger compilation, or just do a new album like Travel Music 2022 whenever it comes out.
So do you feel that "Free in My RV" should have had more lyrics to it?
Yes, I do. And I have some lyrics up here in my head but I haven't come up with something like concise or good. But I might make a 2022 version with 3 verses.
Okay.
I've come up with some verses, but nothing that I really like. So I don't just want to put lyrics to it if it's not something that I think is gonna be like good, like great. Let's put it.
So you told me in your interview that you DJ'd on a cruise ship. When did you get into the DJing, and how did you wind up with that gig?
Okay, the DJing. I was always intrigued, like even from high school. I think I met a couple of DJs. I had a friend who played at a nightclub, and I was always intrigued by how they would mix one song with the next, matching the beat and all that. So by changing the speed on the turntable, So I still have my technique there, my 1200. That's the one that I used to that I bought eventually. And let me see how I can, because several things happened at the same time. So I eventually bought some equipment to start DJing. But this gig at the ship, I was also working at a duty free shop in the port of Miami at the port. So I met people from the cruise ships all the time, and this guy tells me, "Hey, there's a gig here at this boat." It was like the smallest boat in the port. But I was like, "Yeah, that's cool. Let's do it." So I did it. I didn't do it for a very long time. I did it for a few weeks. I actually asked my job there, to give me like a short leave of absence so I could try that. So I did DJ at that boat for it was a few weeks. I don't even think it went to a month. It's not it's kind of like a boring life on the boat once you're there for over a week. It's like seeing the same places and the same people all the time. But it was fun. It was fun. I was, I did.
So the boats were out. The boats were out for a week at a time or whatever. Right?
This one did like a 4-day cruise and a 3-day cruise, and it went to Key West, the Bahamas, and on the longer one, it just went to 2 places in the Bahamas, probably Nassau and Freeport, and then it came back, and it was cool. The disco was all the way at the bottom of the boat, in the back. So sometimes I would get vibration from the engine, and the records would skip.
Oh my God!
Was
that like once a week? Was it on the weekends only, or was it did they have
every night on the cruise? Every night.
Okay.
Yeah,
that seems like a fun gig. I've seen people. It's just a lot, carrying your stuff on it, off and on, and then making sure that it's somewhere where it's safe, where it's not going to, that room's going to get broken into, and stuff like that.
I kept all my records in the disco, and it was locked. The DJ booth was locked. The thing is, the couple of times that I have to bring them in and out, I had like 5 crates of records at the time, and that was a lot. I mean, the boat, they had their own records, and they had some CDs. That was, people were starting to transition to CDs at the time. It was like early 90s. CD mixers weren't all that great at the time yet. It was hard to like match the beat and all that, but it worked.
Yeah, virtual DJ does. I mean, like I said, I find that program the easiest to use.
We are so spoiled these days.
It does it all for you, and you do have that slider on the side that lets you change the tempo of the song, but it'll literally beat match for you if you put 2.
Yeah, if it is a relatively easy to match song, you just go match tempo, and it will go vroom, and it'll the 2 sliders will match, and you just have to worry about starting it at the right spot, and that's it.
Right.
So it's
I mean, I worked in a couple of clubs way back when, and none of it really required that beat matching. I would try and do it. Sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. But it was just the transition from one song to the next.
Otherwise, you go like, and you just throw the next one. I used to do that.
Just a couple of scratches.
And beats wouldn't match. If it was like I was mixing some hip hop with some like disco or what have you, I would go boom, and the next one will go on, and that's it.
Yeah. And then the program, even the controller that I use a Newmark NV2 controller with the laptop. And the virtual DJ program is literally a mirror image of what is on the controller. So I can either do it from the actual wheels that are on the controller, or it's kind of difficult to take I use a thumb wheel mouse. I don't use a regular mouse. It's kind of difficult to take your cursor or your arrow and you go around, it's easier just to do it right from the wheel.
Yeah, the wheel is much better.
But do you see yourself ever messing around with DJing again, or is that something that you just did and it's in advance?
I do. In fact, in one of my trips, the one that I did the San Antonio rally, I traveled with some equipment. It's just because
Oh yeah.
we were gonna do an outside party at the San Antonio rally. Of course, it was 100 degrees out there, so we ended up not doing that outside party,
Yeah.
and there was no room in the clubhouse, so we never
Uh,
did it. But that was the plan, to do like a little concert and do like a little party, and I would DJ. And I don't see why not. If I have a room in my rig for two small speakers and the laptop and the controller, yeah, why not? I mean, I travel with a keyboard already, so it's just a matter of finding the room.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, yeah. I found a gap this wide between the foot of the bed and the wall, and that's where it goes, right
Oh, okay.
by my feet. Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah.
And I know I use Electro Voice speakers, EV. They're 15Xs. They're
That's
about.
what I have. I have the 12Xs because for room and weight, but yeah, they're
And
great.
they make a really decent smaller speaker that you can get, and they sound just as good as the big ones.
Yeah, no,
And they're powered, so you don't need an extra amp or anything like that.
that's what I use. That's when I stopped doing the audio for the big band. That's what I downsized to, just to do audio for me. And I can do like 3 people with with what I have now, and that's it.
I haven't gotten into the karaoke thing. A couple of people have asked about it, but as it sits right now, I don't get into the karaoke too much.
People seem to love it, and the thing is, everything is on YouTube now, so you don't even like to start with. You don't need to make the investments in a karaoke system and this and that. You could just start it, playing YouTube tracks as soon as the internet is decent.
If I had a big calling for it, I probably would at least invest in a smaller setup that worked with my controller or something. But people ask for it, but I don't get an enormous amount of requests for it. So is there anything else that you would like to talk about as far as your music is concerned, or anything like that, or what you have plans for or whatever?
Right now I don't have any immediate plans. I would love to eventually, I would love to tour around, sometimes like campgrounds and stuff like that, and go from campground to campground, playing. That would be a nice gig to have. But more for fun than for the income it might provide. I mean, it's something extra. Everything, it's always good. For all we know, YouTube might die down in the future, and that's what is going to be my main income. So that's something that I have in the back burner there, and I would love to do it at some point.
Yeah, I enjoy doing it, and it's fun. I just miss, because I work every weekend pretty much. I miss, actually doing some of the campground activities because I work so much.
Right.
So I don't get a chance to relax. I'm working during the week and I'm working on the weekends.
Yeah.
The only day that I really have is, Sunday, and we're going home. So
right. But yeah, what I'm thinking about is something similar to what you do, but not in the same place. Every weekend I would try to book different campgrounds ahead in the future, and then plan my travel around that schedule.
Right.
But yeah, that would be a lot of fun.
It's and you have a better shot at it doing it year round because you're in the warmer climate.
Yeah. Yeah, I would do the winters in Florida and then go somewhere else in the summer, most likely.
And I don't think you'd have any problem booking gigs.
Yeah, but
I think some of the campgrounds that normally don't have entertainment, would probably say, okay, well, this is going to be an exception. We're going to have Traveling Robert play a little concert for us tonight, and
yeah,
it would probably be a really cool thing. You probably get a lot of people there.
Yeah,
but
I would love to do that. So maybe next year we'll start doing something like that. We'll see.
And I'm hoping, I'm not going to say if, because I know you're going to get there. When you come to Jersey, sometime next year, I'm trying to make it so that it's on a weekend that I'm not working,
right?
So I can show you around the area and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's what my ultimate goal is, and we already arranged it, with the manager at the campground that I'm at, so that you don't have to worry about any kind of payments for the sites or anything like that. So you'll be there free. there.
Yeah, hopefully by late next summer. It depends what happens with Alaska. If I go to Alaska, it will be later. If I don't go to Alaska, I might do like late summer, like when it starts to die down, maybe, so it's not like super busy and crazy here.
Yeah,
But yeah.
and September is usually, the good time because you
Hmm.
know the Jersey Shore crowds are back home. It's after Labor Day. The weather's not as humid and hot and stuff like that. So it's usually a better time to come and visit the shore area when you
Yeah,
don't have those big crowds.
that's what I'm thinking. Maybe spend the fall. And I've never done I have, but not like a long East Coast road trip. So that would be the East Coast road trip. You
Yeah,
know, hugging I-95 US one and eventually A1A.
that'll be good. So is
Yeah.
there anything else you want to add? Anything like that before we finish this up?
No, I mean I can't think of anything right now at the moment, but um, yeah, well, I don't know.
All right, so everybody, this is Robert Morales, aka Traveling Robert. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share the video. Robert, thanks for coming in.
No, thank
And
you so much for having me.
I'm glad that you came in and we talked about your music.
Yeah, me too.